We want to turn back to Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial, which resumes in just a few hours. On Friday, Judge Juan Merchan cleared up a lie that Trump was spreading outside the courtroom. Early last week, Trump told reporters that the gag order currently in place prevented him from testifying. But the judge clarified that was simply not true, saying that Trump has the absolute right to testify. At the same time, a source with direct knowledge of the situation confirmed to NBC News that Trump paid his $9,000 contempt fine on Thursday for the 9 initial violations of the gag order. The judge is expected to issue a decision on 4 more gag order violations sometime later this week. Joining us now, MSNBC legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, good to see you. So let's start, though, with Hope Hicks. We mentioned earlier in the show, she closed out testimony on Friday, closed out the week. An appearance that eventually got pretty emotional. She resumes her testimony today, takes the stand again in just a couple hours. Give us your main takeaways from Friday. Who did you help more, the prosecution or the defense?
Probably the prosecution. After all, they never would have called her if they didn't think that she was helpful to their case. Number one, she doesn't have the same credibility issues as some of the other prosecution witnesses, whether that be Keith Davidson or, of course, Michael Cohen. Number two, she points out that the Trump campaign, including her, were very concerned about these allegations of women, about having romantic interludes with Donald Trump, and how they might affect the campaign. She describes a scene of chaos within the campaign with this concern about what to do about these stories. And then finally, I thought this was significant. She apparently, Donald Trump admitted to her that he was aware that Michael Cohen had paid Stormy Daniels. Now, a qualification there. You don't know exactly when Donald Trump acquired that knowledge. It was after Michael Cohen gave a statement to the Times. So it's well into the presidency itself and after the election. So a bit of a mixed bag even on that point. But overall, some generally good testimony for the prosecution.
So Hope Hicks goes back to the stand today. Where do we think the day will lead us?
Well, here's the thing with Hope Hicks. Just briefly, I want to talk about the defense. The defense did score some points with Hope Hicks. I mean, she was a mixed bag. There was a lot of reporting that Hope Hicks devastated Donald Trump. I don't agree. I think there were a couple important points that Hope Hicks gave the defense. Number one, that there were things she didn't testify about. I think people like me were thinking Hope Hicks was next to Donald Trump for literally years, very close to him. I thought there would be more bombshells. There weren't really those bombshells. Number two, she painted Michael Cohen as kind of this bumbling wannabe Mr. Fix-It and suggested that going rogue is exactly the kind of thing that Michael Cohen might do and make these payments without any authority. I promise you the word rogue will appear somewhere in the defense's closing argument. And finally, you know, you got this testimony about Michael Cohen and all of the more unreliability that is placed on Michael Cohen. It's the kind of thing that the defense absolutely loves.
Right. So let's talk about the gag order violations that we opened this segment with. We don't know precisely what day the judge will make a decision, but give us your thoughts about the initial violations, why they came about, have they succeeded in restraining Trump, and what might we see from the judge in his next decision?
In a sense, the judge maxed out the monetary fine against Donald Trump because he gave the statutory maximum of $1,000 per violation and complained at the time that it wasn't enough for someone as well-heeled as Donald Trump. So in a way, he's sort of giving a signal he'd be willing to accelerate the process because all contempt violations, all kinds of punishments related to this kind of gag order violation must be incremental. You start out with fines, and even the people in the beginning weren't looking for incarceration. But the judge suggested that at the end of this continuum could be incarceration. I don't think he's there yet, but if we continue with this sort of rolling once-a-week gag order violation hearing, then yes, I think at the end of this ladder is possible incarceration. But make no mistake about it, no judge wants to try and jail a former president. It would be an administrative nightmare. So both sides are playing a kind of very silly game of chicken in terms of seeing who dares to put Donald Trump in jail.
And lastly, Danny, and briefly, just give us a quick sense of what else you'd be looking for out of the courtroom today.
We don't really know the lists of who's going to appear, but there are some notable witnesses. Of course, the marquee witness is Michael Cohen. Might we see Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal? I think yes, Stormy Daniels. But really, Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, their evidence really isn't as compelling as some of the other evidence which locks in the transactions. Look for the witnesses that you maybe haven't heard their names before, because they're the ones that often have some of the most compelling, if maybe sometimes dry, evidence and information.
Well, we, of course, will have complete analysis throughout the morning and live reporting from outside the New York City courtroom. MSNBC legal analyst Dan Stavales, thank you as always.